Okay, in this session, we're going to review how to sample from a distribution. And here, the different wrinkle here is that we're sampling from a distribution where we're given the probability mass function. So, as before, in order to sample from this distribution, we're going to have to construct the CDF, and then we'll create a lookup table. So what I have here, taking a look at this spreadsheet, is I've got the 3-server model, and I have this tab here where I've got the data from revised data for Great Western Steel. So in order to make this simpler, I'm going to copy that data onto the 2 or 3 servers spreadsheet, because what we're going to basically do is once we determine how to sample from these distributions, we're going to use them to provide us the service times and inter-arrival times associated with Great Western Steel. So here we go. I'm going now to this sheet, and I want to grab up this data, and I want to pick up both of these distributions. The inter-arrival time is on the left, the service times are on the right, and here we go. Copying down. However it is that you do copy, we'll go over to the 2 or 3 servers, and we'll roll down here. Notice that about 500 rows are hidden here. So I'm going to drop this thing down in basically what's row 560. Okay, so there is the data that we're going to be using. So I'm going to create a little bit of space here. Move this over because we're going to need the space when we repeat this exercise for the inter-arrival distribution over here. Okay, so first thing we need to do is construct the CDF. That's the cumulative distribution function. CDF, cumulative distribution function. Well, the cumulative distribution function is the probability that our draw is going to be less than or equal to x. In this case, x is in this row. So the probability that our draw is going to be less than or equal to 24 is actually just the probability that the draw is equal to 24, because 24 is our minimum draw. And now, for the next values, the formula is going to be we're accumulating the previous value, add to that the current value, and what do we get there? We get a number, it's 13.0. What is that number? It's the probability that x, the draw from this distribution, is 25 or fewer, and look, 13 is 4% plus 9%. Okay, so for the next step, I'm going to drag this down, and we're going to get our CDF. Oh, okay, so I'm on manual recalc. So whatever you need to do the recalc, I've just done it for me. And what do we notice? Okay, a CDF is always increasing, so we can check this out. Are these numbers increasing? You betcha. And at the maximum value, the CDF is 100%. We've accumulated 100% of the probability. Okay, so that's the data we're going to use to construct our lookup table. All right, lookup table here. It's just a label. It actually doesn't have any effect to the lookup table. And what we've got is the lower interval, the upper interval, the sample value. Okay, so the sample value is just this column. So we're just going to copy this column over. Column of values, Control C. Sample value. Okay. The lower value for the first is always equal to what? 0, right? So the random numbers between 0 and what? The upper value comes from the CDF. Between 0 and 4%, those are going to correspond to 24. So the size of this interval is 4%, right? Upper minus lower. And that's exactly coincides with the probability of drawing a 24. Now, for the next step, the upper interval is always going to be the CDF value. So we just copy that down. And whatever you need to do, or if you're on automatic recalc, you wouldn't need to do that. Now the lower interval in the next row is just equal to the upper interval in the previous row. So now let's check this out. What does this say? It says if we draw a random number between 4% and 13%, that will correspond to 25. How big is that interval? It's 13 minus 4% wide, which is coincidentally, not coincidentally, equal to 9%. The size of the probability associated to a service time of 25. Okie dokie. So we'll copy this down, and we're almost done. There's our table. I'm on manual recalc, so I'll update that. Okie dokie. So let's see. I'm going to just get these rows out of here so we don't have to look at them. Format, rows, hide. That gives us a little bit more space on our screen here. Okay, so now we are going to be looking up on some value, and we want to test. So we want to put our random variable here, outside of the lookup function. Now if that doesn't make sense, that's okay. We're going to come back to that. I want this to be a percent. Where did I find that? There it is. And I want to add a 0. So there we got tenths of percent. Okay, so this is the lookup value. And over here we're going to construct the lookup. Now this is all there is to it. This is the most important thing. Equal VLOOKUP. There's our VLOOKUP function. And the VLOOKUP function has 3 arguments. The lookup value, the table array, the column index, and then that range lookup. Actually it's got 4 arguments, but we can leave the last one blank. No problem. So the lookup value is this. The table array, we're going to light up our table. We don't include the headers. Light up our table there, and let's see. So here I have it, and hopefully I remember how to make this go absolute. There it is. You need to have $signs on both of those. So when we copy this formula anywhere, it will maintain an absolute reference to that table. Okay, the next argument is which column are we looking in? Column index. So we're going to look up here, and what column is our value of interest in? It's not in column 1, it's not in column 2, it's over here in column 3. So I'm going to put comma 3. And since it's a range lookup, I'll put a 1 in there. You can actually leave that blank. A 0 or 1 goes in there, and it basically says true or false. So range lookup 1 is true. If we wanted to look up exact values, say for example this was a spreadsheet that had student IDs and grades, well, we want to look up an exact value of a student ID. If we had a number that was between 2 student IDs, the lookup would get assigned to one of those, and that would be bad, right? Because we'd be looking for specific lookups. Here, we are happy with a range lookup. So hit return. I'm going to update here. And what do we got? 89% is the lookup value, and the sample returned is 34. And so where's 89%? It's in that interval, and there's 34. Okay, that looks good. We've tested this thing. If we wanted to, we could repeat this and say, for example, find 71.5. It's that interval. There's 32. Great. Basically, what we want to do is test out our formula and make sure it works. So I'm going to grab this formula, copy it, paste it. Now, if I hit Control equals, there's going to be a problem. The VLOOKUP refers to, in our formula here, we have VLOOKUP referring to the cell to the left. And what we're going to want to do now is actually embed the random function, R-A-N-D, inside of the formula. So the random variable is sampled, and then the lookup is based on that, all in this formula. So I'm going to go crazy hitting recalculate, and watch this cell right here, that one. So I hit recalculate, and notice it's drawing values from the sample, and so the values range from 24 to 36. That's it, team. what we've got right here is a formula that if we copy it around and hit Control equals, each of them is going to be a sampling from that distribution. Now this is the refers to the interarrival times. So I'm going to go ahead here and let's see, I want to unhide those top 4 rows. See if we can do it. Alright, there we got it. There's our top 4 rows. And so what we want to do is in order to get this simulation, to do the Great Western Steel simulation, we're going to strip out the values for arrival, inter-arrival, and service time there, and we're going to stick in these new values. Now we have a formula for sampling the service time, and here it is, right? That one, right? Because that's the one that refers to the values with the, I'm sorry, that has the random draw inside of it. Copy that. Let's go back over here and put this in. These are what? These are service times, so we'll paste this in here. And let's update whatever it is to do to recal. Notice the service times are changing. And for each of the ship arrivals, we're going to have a service time. So I'll copy that down. And there we have it. And what we have is 550 samples of that service time. All right. What's left for you to do is for you to look at that other distribution, create a CDF, and then sample from that distribution, and then you will have a working simulation model. Okay, there you have it. And remember, I'm plenty available to help you, especially on Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays. And I think you're up for this one, and I look forward to your being able to achieve some results. You have me as a resource, yourself, and you can reach out to other members of the class. All right, guys, you're all prepped up, and you're all dressed up, and now it's time to go to the ball.